Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ video here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ. This will be the final edition of NoDQ video until the WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which is this Sunday, of course. NoDQ.com will have you covered with the latest news, rumors, and of course, my oh-so-popular live results coverage. Check it out. Follow NoDQ on social media at NoDQ, DOTCOM on Facebook and Twitter. And let's get started now with your questions. First one today comes from Alex Suggs. With Rey Mysterio now jumping to New Japan Pro Wrestling, who else do you see following in the footsteps of Jericho and Mysterio? I personally think Daniel Bryan will be the next big star to join New Japan Pro Wrestling next year. Your thoughts? Next year, it could be this year. Bryan's contract expires, I believe, in September, which means by the end of 2018, we could see Daniel Bryan in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And of course, New Japan has Wrestle Kingdom early 2019. That would be huge if New Japan could get Daniel Bryan versus Kenny Omega for New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom. That would be a huge match for those guys. Will we see Daniel Bryan in New Japan? I would say if he's leaving WWE, it's almost a sure thing to happen because there's a lot of different possibilities for Bryan. He could face Kenny Omega. He could face Okada. He could face a number of guys, not just in Japan, but in the United States as well. At the very least, I see him doing Ring of Honor and other indie promotions. I don't think Bryan's going to never wrestle again. I feel like unless the doctors tell him he cannot get back in the ring, he will get back in the ring, whether WWE's doctors clear him or not. So yeah, I think that there's a very realistic chance we will see Daniel Bryan in New Japan Pro Wrestling, to answer your question, and follow the footsteps of Chris Jericho and Rey Mysterio. This one comes from Michael J. Which superstar will suffer the most with dual-branded pay-per-views? Women's division, cruiserweights, tag, or mid-carders? Can we say a little bit of everyone? I think that the people that will gain from this are your top stars, notably your top male stars. I think the top women stars will benefit. Now I feel more than ever, if WWE's making this move, which they are, it's no longer rumored, it is in fact going to happen, where you have every pay-per-view be a dual-branded pay-per-view, I say merge some of the titles. Have only one world champion, and then you can have both sides trying to get the spot at the pay-per-view, and that way you can elevate the title, and the one guy who's champion can be on both shows. That's something I've argued for the longest time now. Maybe 1 month he can face a Raw star, the next month he can face a SmackDown star, and that way you keep it a bit fresh, so it's not the same main event every single month. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the women's title merge, tag titles merge. I'm fine with the IC title and US title being brand exclusive. Each brand has one exclusive title. And then maybe introduce a new title, like a 6-man title or something like that. Or some kind of TV champion or internet champion, interactive champion, whatever. I think the cruiserweights will hurt a little bit. And I think mostly the lower card guys, the guys that struggle to get on the single brand pay-per-views, those are the ones that are going to really be lost in the shuffle. Guys like your Mojo Rawleys, your Apollo Cruzes, and those sort of people I think are really going to be struggling to get pay-per-view spots moving forward. Guys like Breezango, some of the lower tag teams, Ascension. Those are the guys that I feel will be hurt the most by this change. But then again, there's always kickoff time. You always have an hour kickoff and you can throw 3 or 4 matches. I shouldn't say that. It's only like 2 matches at the most for a 1 hour kickoff. But The problem is now WWE is going to feel more compelled to do even longer pay-per-views, and the pay-per-views are just going to keep getting longer and longer, which is ridiculous. Like I said in a recent video, I would have rather WWE stuck with more pay-per-views than fewer pay-per-views that are longer. I'd rather sit through a lot of 3-hour pay-per-views instead of fewer 4-hour pay-per-views. But not everybody agrees with that, and some feel this is the best format for WWE moving forward. Got this one here from Little K-Dog87. I had to cut off part of his name and avatar because his question was so darn long. As it sounds like the brand split is ending, a lot of people will be on both shows again. What do you think about splitting each individual show by hour into separate shows like Raw is War / Warzone style and having certain people on certain hours? Doesn't matter. Will not make any difference whatsoever. That's like changing the coat of paint on your car instead of fixing the engine. WWE needs better writing. Bottom line. It doesn't matter who's in the first hour or second hour or what the name of the first hour is, if it's Raw Zone or Raw second hour or third time's a charm, whatever WWE wants to call the hours of Raw. It doesn't matter. That doesn't affect the quality of the product. The writing needs to improve. You need to have more creative people, and you need some ideas that are outside the box, and the show needs to be written in a way to keep people invested and wanting to stick with the entire show. And then at the end, you have cliffhangers, and you save those cliffhangers. What a concept. Save the cliffhangers for the next show and get people to tune in and tell their friends, hey, there's a really interesting ending on Raw. You got to check out next week's show, instead of, oh, WWE just gave it away on social media an hour later. This one comes from Joshua. Why is it Batista being considered for the mixed tag match at WrestleMania? I mean, he wants to wrestle Triple H again, and it would mix things up. That would be a decent compromise. I think I would be okay with that. I have said before, I'm not really a fan of Batista versus Triple H one-on-one again at WrestleMania. I know that's what Batista wants, but I'd like to see something different, and that would be enough of a mix-up. That would be a compromise as far as I'm concerned. I'm surprised that Batista's name hasn't come up for that, but he might be too busy. Like The Rock, Batista's schedule might prevent him from being able to come back. Batista's having a lot of success in Hollywood right now. I certainly think that could work. I mean, Batista has the name value, not at The Rock's level, but I feel like he has enough where he could make a difference and get some people interested in checking out WrestleMania that otherwise might not bother. I feel like, with that being said, I would prefer, if The Rock is not going to be in it, I still think the ideal solution is to elevate somebody in that spot that could get the rub from working with Ronda Rousey. And I think that leads me to my next question here, if I ordered these properly. I did. From Joe Stewart. If Strowman doesn't get a Universal title shot like he should, do you think having him and Ronda as a team against Triple H and Stephanie at WrestleMania will help Ronda against a potential backlash, as I could see the fans loving a Ronda and Strowman team? What are your views? I like it. I dig it, brother. If I could do the Randy Savage impression like Big Vito, I would, but I'm Aaron Rift. I can't do Randy Savage impressions, but I will tell you, to put it in Randy's words, I dig it the most, brother. I think it's a good idea. I think Braun Strowman could definitely benefit from being in that high-profile match, you know, especially if he's losing Elimination Chamber. Him being in a match with Ronda Rousey, that's a marquee match at WrestleMania. So Strowman still is doing something significant, and him and Strowman working together, that will help elevate Strowman. Not at the level of Steve Austin with Mike Tyson, but Strowman is the closest thing to the hottest act that WWE has had in many years, arguably since CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, and maybe even going further back to John Cena and Randy Orton and Batista when they all became big stars. Braun Strowman has that potential to be one of the big stars of WWE for the next decade, if not longer. So why not put him in there with Ronda Rousey and help his star power reach an even higher peak than it already is at? This one comes from Mr. Yuck. When or if Undisputed Era is called up to the main roster, should it be as a faction or as single superstars? Good question. I think right now I would go with having them as a group. I think they would be stronger. I know there's a lot of Adam Cole fans out there, Bebe, but I still feel like he is best off in a group. I think if he went to the main roster, he would potentially get lost in the shuffle very quickly. The three of them as a super group coming in and maybe being a new version of the Shield and just going after everybody, that could be interesting. Although we've seen so many of these six-man matches, six-women matches, six-person matches. That's why I said earlier, why not do a six-person championship? But then I guess if you have to do it with the men, you have to do it with the women too, whatever. I don't know. I guess maybe that's not a good idea, because if you do a six-man tag team title, then people are going to say, why not have the women? But then again, there's no women's tag team titles. Some might argue maybe WWE should introduce the women's tag team titles. I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment. Do you think Adam Cole's better off on his own, or do you think he's better off with O'Reilly and Bobby Fish? If you think they're better together, or do you think they're better as individuals? Leave a comment, let me know. This one comes from B. Hill. Hey Aaron, with Johnny Gargano losing his rematch, loser leaves town match to Andrade Cien Almas, what do you think is next for him? Do you possibly see Gargano versus Champa at WrestleMania? Somehow I'm not convinced that WWE is going to not do Champa versus Gargano in NXT. The problem with WrestleMania is that it'll get lost in the shuffle. It should be the main event of the next NXT show. It's the hot feud. It's the feud that goes back almost a year now when the team broke up, and then Ciampa was at the very end of the pay-per-view takeover attacking Gargano with the crutch. That is the main event for NXT TakeOver New Orleans, as far as I'm concerned. That should be the main event. So my feeling is it's just an angle. Gargano will be back for the final NXT show or whatever to set up that match at WrestleMania. That's what I'm assuming, at least, because yeah, they could do it at WrestleMania, but it's going out there cold to the people that don't follow NXT. I think it's much better to have them have that final match in NXT at that show with those NXT fans. Yeah, it might get a good reaction at WrestleMania, but still, I feel it's best to be NXT. It's an NXT feud, and maybe eventually it could spill over. They could have the WrestleMania, or excuse me, the TakeOver match, and then maybe a couple months down the line, the two of them could rekindle their feud on the main roster, kind of like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This one comes from Miguel Ortiz. Have you noticed that a lot of NXT talent that have successful runs in that brand end up doing subpar mediocre? Bo Dallas, Tyler Breeze on the main roster, but those who floundered on NXT, Elias for example, have a better run on the main roster. The bottom line is that you never really know for sure. There's no guarantee that what works in NXT will work on the main roster with the casual fans and Vince. At the end of the day, if Vince doesn't like you, it's going to be hard to succeed on the main roster. If Vince thinks you're great, then the possibilities are limitless. I think with Elias, he's a very sports entertainment character. He's more about going out there singing the songs than the matches, and I think that that's what is appealing to Vince, the fact that Elias can sing and be an entertainment guy, not just a wrestler. He's got the whole package. He can talk, he can wrestle, he can sing. He is talented in various areas. And I think that's very appealing to Vince McMahon, and it's connecting with the audience. For some of these other guys, all they have to offer is wrestling. But we see based on the reactions at 205 Live. And it's not entirely fair because 205 Live airs after SmackDown when the fans are burned out. But I've been to Raws when the Cruiserweight matches would be in the first hour and the crowd still would not react to them. And those are the matches that are the most based on wrestling and wrestling heavy, and more emphasis on that and less emphasis on storylines and characters. So yeah, it just depends. Not everybody that succeeds in NXT is going to succeed on the main roster. And we got another NXT question. This is the NXT edition of NoDQ video, by the way. From Ozzy. Do you think Aleister Black has potential to be WWE's next big star? Maybe fill in WWE's dark character role. I definitely see him as being one of the big stars in WWE for many years to come. He's got a good size. He's got a good look. He can wrestle. He's got several attributes that are working in his favor. He's got a cool theme song. So yeah, I think he will do well on the main roster. But again, nothing is a guarantee. He could very well flop. There's no way to know for sure. But I feel of the crop of NXT guys right now, he has to be up there among the guys with the most potential. Guys like him, guys like Lars Sullivan, are the ones that I feel really have the most potential. And Velveteen Dream, let's not forget about him. He has definitely been catching on in NXT and becoming a big deal. And he's definitely got the attributes to potentially go very far in the company. Those three I think could very well become major stars. And Johnny Gargano also, considering how well he did at TakeOver. You know, a lot of these guys have the potential, but as JR used to say, you cannot make a living on potential. Next one here from Andrew. Is it time? It's time for Roman Reigns, or excuse me, why did I read Roman Reigns? Maybe I'm thinking heel turn and Roman Reigns is the first guy that pops up. Is it time for Rollins and Charlotte to turn heel again? Both of their face turns, easy for me to say, have been flops in my opinion. I would say Rollins at first. I would say both of them at first, but it feels like over the last several months, they've kind of settled into their roles and they're getting the good crowd reactions from the fans. I think, strangely enough, Rollins having the entrance music with Burn It Down at the beginning gets the fans pumped up for him. I think that something that simple actually benefited him a lot. And it just goes to show that sometimes it's little things, little tweaks you can make that can make the character connect more with the fans. And that Burn It Down thing, you know, it works. The guy's screaming it, the crowd gets into the entrance, and I feel like Rollins has rebounded over the past year. You know, around the time of the Triple H feud, it felt like Rollins was really floundering as a babyface, but now he seems to be coming into his own. As far as Charlotte goes, yeah, I feel she was at first, but then again, she was also kind of just there. Now she's the women's champion, and I feel like she's regained some momentum. Problem is, there's no real strong heel on SmackDown to challenge her. That's what she needs right now, is a strong heel opponent. I think she's fine as a babyface, but she needs a strong heel. Otherwise, one could argue she should go back to being a heel, since there are a lack of really strong heels on SmackDown. Got this one here from Brett Nichols. Should characters be able to break kayfabe on social media like Twitter? I've seen where Jericho retweeted Owens' Festival of Friendship tweet. They're supposed to hate each other. Seems dumb to me. I agree, man. I agree. Especially in this age where WWE likes to announce things on social media. You have more and more of the audience going on Twitter and Facebook. I always said that wrestlers should have two separate accounts. Have one account for their wrestling character, and then have a personal account where they just talk about things other than wrestling. I think that would be the easy solution. That way, the character Twitter account, that does not break kayfabe, and the people that want to take the time to find the personal account, if access is allowed to view the content, then that's on those people. But the accounts that get retweeted and mentioned by WWE, I don't think those characters, those accounts should be breaking kayfabe. I feel they should be staying in character. That'll do it for this edition of NoDQ Video. Thank you all very much for your support. Again, NoDQ.com this weekend for coverage of Elimination Chamber, and I will see you guys next time.